My name's Chris,
Wow, and I'm Kristie.
and this is the Washing Up Podcast.
What was that?
I'm emotional. I'm deeply emotional. I don't quite know how to process what we just watched. To stress something just off at the offset here, because there's a lot of people going to be sitting there going,
What the hell?
"Why are you so emotional?"
Yeah.
As we sort of mentioned in the first episode, there are three people, but there was two main ones that I left to the very end, which was Larry and Anjali,
Yes.
because they've been following us on the podcast forever, and they're friends of the podcast, and we love interacting with them, and dear God, how do we process that in the one episode?
It is the best of times, it is the blurst of times.
It is the best of times. It is the worst or blurst, whichever you want to go with. It's a big night for the podcast.
It is,
It's one of the greatest victories and one of the most stinging defeats.
It is. It was bad enough we said goodbye to Bertie last week, but now we're saying goodbye to Anjali. And, look, she's still alive. We'll still tweet her. She'll still listen to the podcast, hopefully.
There's every chance we'll chat to her.
Yes,
but it's not the same.
No.
Look, we love everybody in there. We genuinely love everybody in there. But I had podcast dreams of grandeur. We were going to have a final three of Larry, Anjali, and Maggie, and they were going to charge to the finish line, and it was going to be a washing up grand final.
Apparently, you can't bake good unless you listen to our podcast.
That would have been the rule. And look, Larry's proving it.
I'm so glad that you aren't a producer on the show, because
I just keep people in. Why? They listen. No, look, seriously, we love everybody, but this is a conflicting moment.
it is. It was like, celebrating Larry's win. Woohoo! And then it was like, goodbye, Anjali. Heartbreak.
I was like, would have been heartbreaking if anyone went, to be honest. But we were sitting there going, I'm like, and the winner, and they went, and Star Baker is Larry. And I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. Oh my God, I've never been so proud. And going home, and I'm still celebrating. And they went, Anjali. And I went, what? But no, I actually exclaimed, no, really loudly.
You really did.
I yelled it. The neighbours must be wondering what the fuck's going on. Anyway, so bread week.
Yes.
It is always the big week of any form of bake-off.
Yes, better bread than dead.
Oh, here we go. So I'm going to start with the drinking game this week. I'm going to start with the original and best drinking game. And accept no pretenders. Bingo or otherwise. So we love you, CBC. Anyway, on our drinking game card this week, the judges say that a bake was an unusual combination that works. That happened.
Yes, that was the...
there were a couple, actually.
Yes, the British Columbia on the French, bake. That was the one you're talking about? No?
No, there were tons of them. There were tons of different ones.
I'll just let you guide us through, because I'm just going to float along. I'm still processing.
There was the Sheldon one where all the different methods, the Japanese method on the brioche, that was one.
Yeah.
Even though the rest of the bake had problems, the buns that Anjali made with the turmeric, they liked that.
Sheldon's one is what I was thinking of. It's the British Columbia flavours with the Japanese technique on a French type of...
That's right, but what you said before was the British and Colombian flavours. And I'm like, cocaine? I wasn't aware there was cocaine, allegedly. Alleged blanket. So that did happen anyway, so you should have drunk. A bake is underproved. Nothing was underproved. Underbaked.
Yes.
Not underproved.
Possibly a little overproving, but not really.
Underproved.
Yeah.
Baker gets an ovation. Look, they gave it a general ovation at the end. I'll give you that one. The baker has I looked away for a minute disaster. Did not happen.
No.
So pleased. A cup of tea while the baker's in the oven. Did not happen. So disappointed. We're going to leave...
We had, who was it? Tanner. I think he was there. What did he say? He was contemplating.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. He was laying on the floor contemplating.
Yes.
And there were a couple of people, as we'll get to, who had coffee in their bakes, but there was no cup of tea. I'll leave the next square because we're coming back to that one. Baker helps another baker. Didn't really happen this week. Wasn't needed. Baker's called Deceptively Simple. They sort of hinted at that a little bit with the pretzel. And Alan removes his hat. I don't think that one ever is going to be a hit, but we're going to see. The one that I left out, if you were playing along properly and you were drinking every single time you hit a square,
Yes.
bread-based pun.
Jesus H.
You were
Roosevelt
drunk
Christ.
before the credits.
Oh my gosh, just the list of celebrities, and I think that was beautifully done.
Oh,
I'm
they
here
were
for
fantastic.
Ryan Gosling and
Ryan Gosling,
Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yes, that was a good one. There were a ton of those. Then they got into the pavilion, and all of the bakers, including, let's face it, you are the queen of puns, you are the queen of accenting.
Oh, but Larry just
is the king.
Just the king.
Just every single time they cut back to Larry, he had another pun. There was another one, just bang, bang.
It's like, it's the yeast I can do.
It is the yeast he could do. So we're going to get into the signature. Now, the problem with doing the Great Canadian Baking Show is occasionally they'll do French bakes in terms of names.
It's not. It's
So
no
Queen of
problem.
Accenting.
Yeah.
Here we go. Go for it.
It's the tarte trapezienne, like a trapeze. It's when Brigitte Bardot was filming her famous circus movie, and she was doing a trapeze, and they had to have hired a baker just to create her some nights, because she just wasn't happy with craft service. She goes, I want something original and unique and, for Brigitte. Unique for Brigitte. And so she is doing her famous trapeze act, and she does this somersault off, lands on a pony, pole dances around a clown. And when she lands, there's this amazing tart there.
Off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Do you happen to just randomly know off the top of your head what the name of the movie was?
La Cirque du Bardo.
Are you sure it wasn't called In God Created Woman?
It might have been In God Created Woman, and okay, it might have been that she was on Saint Tropez, and it might have been a tart.
No, I like the idea of the pole dancing on a pony. Look, Bridget Bardot went to town, pole dance on a pony, stuck a tart right in her head and call it tart trapsoni. No, that's quite...
So yeah, okay, so they're going, oh, she named it Tarte Saint Tropez because she was in Saint Tropez. That's not imaginative. Mine was more imaginative.
Oh, look,
I should be the one naming tarts.
You really should be the one naming tarts, in all honesty. I mean, as we have mentioned before on the podcast, whenever
I am the cheerful tart.
Well, you are in the family of the cheerful tart.
Yeah, because Lucy Scott, who is an ancestor I've claimed because my grandmother's maiden name was Scott, and she was the mistress of not St. Charles II.
St. Charles II.
King Charles II, and her nickname was Lucy
Scott, the cheerful tart.
So I've just taken that on board. And so who should have tart naming duties but the cheerful tart?
You really should. Anyway, they had 2.5 hours to make this. Now, I didn't see much of the pole dancing on a pony.
It was pole dancing on a clown, but I'll give you the pony.
Pole dancing on a clown?
Yeah.
On top of the clown? Around the clown? Using
Both.
the clown as the pole?
Yes.
The clown is the pole?
Yes. It's even funnier when it's like a harlequin, just sitting there all sad
At least it's a Pagliacci sitting there. There's a Pagliacci sitting there, and meanwhile all you can hear is you can leave your hat on, which for the clown is usually handy. Anyway, 2.5 hours. It is a round brioche loaf. So all of that fancy naming for a cream-filled round brioche loaf.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work for a very simple concept.
But let's look at what the guys produced, because some of them were just exquisite. Like Larry's, of course, given it was pretty and pastel and just purpley and lemony and deliciousness.
So we'll start with Dominique. So because Dominique said that she felt that this should be her challenge, which is not normally a good thing.
I mean, she's an award-winning authoress, so I'm just feeling like, she's like, well, I can write a book, I can do anything.
I can do everything. We also had creme mousseline and orange liqueur, which, again, boozy bakes.
Don't try with the accents, darling. It's pronounced creme liqueur.
It's orange liqueur and creme mousseline, but nice try. So
I didn't say I was saying the words correctly.
you're like, I've got the accent down. The words are wrong, but the accent is perfect.
Exactly.
So Sheldon went with corn, blueberry, and then had a special Japanese cooking method that he used, which made it again light and air. It's the second time he's done this too, where he's found a Japanese method for this. So I get the feeling we're going to get a lot of these light and floofy sort of Japanese methods over the course of this.
Just more mochi. That's all I'm asking.
Now, if it eventually leads to one of those airy Japanese cheesecakes, all for it.
Yep.
I'm a bandit for those.
Sure
Now,
are.
at this point, we discovered a link with you and Maggie.
Yes.
Maggie
Play basketball.
was a basketballer.
Yeah.
She was shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
Yeah, I presume she was actually like an offensive player because she seemed to be getting things into the bowl. Whereas
she's tall.
And she's tall. Whereas I was more kind of stocky and unable to get things
You're a point guard.
No, I wasn't. A point guard is an attacking offensive. I was a base person.
A baseman person.
A base person. Like,
That's
I
not
don't
a
want to say
position.
base man.
That's not a position.
Yes, it is.
Baseman?
Playing base.
No, it's not.
Then what do you want to say it is?
You would have been a point guard.
I was not a point guard.
Well, you're about the right height for
You
it.
don't know what a point guard is, Mr. Soccer Player. The point guard is the person who calls the plays. Yes, it's more like your Scottie
If
Pippen.
Alan is
and
listening to
going
this
down-
podcast right now, he is going mental with you saying a base.
I played on the base. I was defensive. Alan, back me up.
Point guard, shooting guard, strong forward, power forward, centre. Which were you?
Just fuck off.
Alan, meanwhile, is losing and going base.
No, a point. No.
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 Just no. Anyway, you played more basketball than I did, to
You
be
just
fair.
talk now.
I just talk now?
You just do the talking, Mr. Man.
You're looking at base, aren't you?
Fuck you.
Anyway,
Keep fucking talking.
I'm going to talk
That
about...
was my sports ball moment. You have sports ball moments all day, every day. You have a whole podcast dedicated to sports ball, and you're like, I can talk all the sports ball.
The extra
and
shift.
Here I come with my little thing, and now you're going, there's no such thing as a base. I played on the base.
Ta-da!
Fine, I'm going to Google it.
Okay, you Google it. And while you Google it, I'll talk about Mr. Ta-da!
Oh, that was a good moment.
Which was Larry. Oh, God, Larry. Seriously, Larry. First of all, Larry makes a lot of stuff, as came out in the episode later on. And one of the things is, and as I've mentioned before, we followed Larry a fair bit. And, I was not surprised at all when they mentioned that the cheese, for example, that he made his own brie. I've seen him make his own cheese on Instagram. Larry makes everything.
Hold on. I just have an announcement.
Okay, go.
I feel like my whole teenagehood is a lie.
Yep.
Because it is either a power or a small forward. And, I was always told to play on the base. And I was on defense.
Can I point out, by the way?
base.
Can I point out, by the way, what that means is your coach has failed you.
He
You had a profession ready to go.
Did he dumb it down for us girls? Because he did pay a lot more attention to the boys and got
Probably.
them.
I feel like you had a career as an Opal, one of the Australian basketball team.
No, I was shithouse. Don't
No,
get
but
me
you were
wrong.
defensive.
No, I was still shithouse. But I just my part of my teenage identity, apart from being a nerd and a bookworm, was this position, and he's just. I'm gonna have to leave that.
You've been living a lie.
I've been living a lie, and I just want to live in Larry's world where, he
makes
crafts
everything.
Everything. This is the guy you want in your zombie apocalypse team.
I mean, to jump forward a little bit, you definitely do. First of all, the food, yes.
Yes.
Secondly, when they got to the end to jump forward, and they went, "That's an amazing chopping board of side like France." And before that, when they went, "Who made it?" I just turned around to Kristie and I went, "Larry did."
Yeah.
And then he went, "Me," and they went, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, Larry made it." Just go and check out his Instagram. Larry's amazing.
And the ta-da, as he's holding that little wooden cart, which I'm sure he's brought, he just, the neighborhood children, fill with lemons, and they all go make lemonade.
And then he wheels around Brie to the different houses.
Exactly, with a nice, lemonade to pair with it.
And then he takes one of these tarts with, lemon syrup, raspberry, and lavender.
Yes.
Lavender. So Maggie, now again, back to Maggie, not the basketball bit, but instead the chai latte bit. So Maggie made a chai latte one with toffee and caramel. Now, I liked this bit of the episode in particular.
Yes.
Coffee.
Absolutely. Now, she was saying she used to be a lawyer. She used to have a lot of lattes. Yes. She was a latte sipping lawyer. But now she's, salt of the earth mother.
I was once
working from home.
I was once referred to in a letter from a parent
as
a leftist latte sipping. I was a communist hippie, and
all of those.
I was deeply insulted. Not once have I drunk a latte. I'm a long black drinker from way back. It's again espresso for those of us living overseas that go, what do you mean long black? That's an Australian thing. So Tanner,
like a flat white.
Yeah, flat white, long black.
You should see the round blue though. Like that's just pretty interesting.
It's usually made by drop bears. Tanner though was talking my language. It was a caramel macchiato, which was the espresso with caramel.
I just saw him making the espresso first though, and I'm just like, oh, it's Chris's breakfast.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, that's my breakfast, not the food.
Not the food, just coffee.
Just the coffee pot. Yeah. Like, that's what I eat, literally. Now.
That's what we have to have on standby for you in case you're ever in an accident and need blood.
100% just transfusion of coffee. Now, we had Mahaffey
Get the single origin stat.
That's 100%. 4, a grading of 4 out of 5, no lower. Now, Mahaffey, see if you can pick a theme. They said that she was showing her a tribute and an ode to her love of fruit. Now, obviously, there was orange.
Yep.
And it was orange and pomegranate.
Lots and lots of pomegranate.
And then there was some pomegranate. And then some more pomegranate.
Yeah, but in the little snippet from back home, her dad's showing her a banana flower. So...
But then she just used more pomegranate. Like, they went, her love of fruit. There's one other fruit. There was orange, and then it was all pomegranate.
I just felt...
And I love Bruno going, there's a possible risk of too much pomegranate here. She's like, no, it's fine.
What do you mean? She says, just pulling more pomegranate out of nowhere.
Just throwing pomegranates around. It was like rice at a wedding. She's just like throwing pomegranates. I'm marching through the ovens. Now, obviously, Ajax last week had an amazing week. Star Baker. I'm not going to suggest that Ajax was worried about the first bake. But it was basically a straight-up version with some gold flakes.
Yeah.
It felt like he was just like, don't fuck it up.
I did well last week.
He was RuPauling the first challenge. Don't fuck it up. Get to the end of this and then get into the next ones and we'll try to push through.
Yeah.
Now, Anjali went with basil, pandan, and pistachio. It was all green.
Yes.
And let me just say...
It was so green, Sarah Hanson-Young was... Oh, you won't get that.
You won't get that. It was so green that insert green politician here.
Adam Bent.
They're green politicians. That's not helping. None of the Canadians know these people. Whatever your miscellaneous green politician in Canada is, insert their name there.
Yes.
And reference them. But what I was pleased with is that we haven't seen so far matcha. Now, Anjali at least knows enough
to not pull out the matcha.
And I'd like to think I have influence in that. I don't. I really don't. But I'd like to hope that she just went, you know what? I could go out this week, but as long as Chris doesn't blow a gasket over matcha, we're fine.
And this is where I feel we're at, is that you, my love, have been an influencer without the
influence?
The influence. Just seeping into the zeitgeist.
I've always wanted to be in the zeitgeist. It's my favourite horror movie.
Your anti-matcha propaganda.
It's my favourite horror movie of all time, Zeitgeist.
You know what else we haven't seen? No yuzu.
Oh, God.
But Sheldon may be holding out on that.
Look, if anyone in there was going to use yuzu...
It's Sheldon.
Sheldon. Rafficat. So, first of all, maple walnut. Just yum.
Bang on.
And then creme diplomat. It's always nice to see some creme diplomat. I feel like we're home.
Yes, it is.
Like, we get creme diplomat and I'm like, oh, we're in Bake Off. We're in Bake Off. Can breathe now. But Tanner was everyone in Bread Week this week when he looked at the camera and he goes, I'm feeling great. Nothing is going wrong.
Yeah. Like, touch wood. Like, I would be going around the tent just stripping off naked and rolling around on every bit of wood I could find if I said that.
I was about to say that's before the challenge, though.
Okay. That's just my warm-up.
That's your warm-up act. Like, your warm-up act, forget the idea of, like, pole dancing around the clown.
Yeah.
Which is stuck in my head, by the way, now. All I can do is visualise Brigitte Bardot pole dancing around Pagliacci to You Can Leave Your Hat On. And I don't know why it's locked in my head now. And the clown is just crying more. As she spins, the clown's tears are increasing with volume. Look, Mahathis, when they took them all out of the oven, I thought it a bit of a molehill. It was possibly an alien craft that had landed.
I was kind of like, you could put that on what's that? That poster from the thing that's got...
A poster with a thing? Caddyshack?
No. No.
I mean, it would work with Caddyshack as where the gopher is.
You know the one that...
X-Files?
Yes, the X-Files poster. The
Truth Is Out There?
The Truth Is Out There. That's it. God, what is wrong with my brain? I went back to work today. It doesn't suit me.
It doesn't suit you at all.
It really doesn't. I need to be more like Brigitte Bardot.
It's dancing around clowns?
Dancing around clowns, apparently.
So... Tanner, by the way, it really was a bit of a Tanner week. Without him winning, it was a bit of a Tanner week. Because then he followed up his I'm feeling great, nothing is going wrong, with a great bit of wisdom when he said, I think sugar covers a multitude of sins. I think Buddha said that.
Yes.
It does sound like the teachings of the Buddha.
There's the Buddha under the Bodhi tree.
Exactly. He's like, life is suffering, sugar can cover it. That's it. There's not the Four Noble Truths. There's just two. Life is suffering, sugar can cover it. All the Noble Truths covered by Tanner in one. Now, I then got concerned because it looked like Sheldon had dropped his, but then he cut it.
Yeah.
And, it looked, to me, it then just looked like a normal cake.
Yeah, but, I think, needs must where, things
Cover
haven't
it.
gone. Yeah, should have got the sugar out.
Where was the sugar? He could have just thrown sugar all over it.
Would have been fine.
Would have been amazing. Now, Tanner, they said that it looked good and the cream set really well and the dough was very well proved.
Yes.
Now, Dom,
Oh, you forgot to mention that Sheldon's was a little runny.
But
delicious.
It was, and we'll come to that. So,
Oh, sorry. I'm just taking you all over the shop.
you're running all over the place. You're still dancing with clowns.
I can't keep up with you. I'm still processing the fact my teenage
that a
life
bass is not a real thing.
fucking lie.
On the plus side,
What?
just tell everyone you played baseball.
No! God, no!
What did you play?
No.
Bass? Would work. Baseballers get paid really well for doing not much of anything.
No! Still no!
They play 100-odd games a year, 160-odd games a year, and they don't really do much. They just stand in one spot.
And this is why, the balance of power and wealth in our world is just crap house when men standing around in a field doing fuck all are paid more than people risking their lives on the front line helping people with COVID. Just going to say that.
I'm just going to say that people deserve to be paid a lot more for dancing around clowns than they do for standing in the outfield. Anyway.
She got paid in tarte. Don't you forget. She got paid in tarte.
And that's where the name came from. So, Dom, now they said they wanted to see more flair because, as they said, you're a big personality. Make this a big personality. The bake was good and they said the flavours were sort of very classic and they were happy with that. Yeah. Maggie... They said it tells the latte story.
It's 6 a.m. I've dragged myself out of bed. I'm at the office, and thank fuck the barista's awake and is making my coffee.
It even looks like a bit of the spilled milk over there. And again, it's like the really early morning coffee of fuck it, I'll fix it later.
Can I have 2 to go, please?
Now, we got a very strong Brunoism. And to be honest with you, a Brunoism that should have been on the drinking game. That was my fault. This is the week where Bruno is going to point out to everybody who will listen to him. I really like butter. And I forgot.
Every bloody week.
But Bread Week in particular.
What about patisserie week? There's going to be a lot of butter mentioned in
That'll
patisserie
be all over
week.
it. But I forgot to put in Bruno telling everyone how much he loves butter. We must have got somewhere upwards of about 7 references in this episode of Bruno going, you know me, I like a lot of butter.
So when are we getting the Bruno and Maggie beer crossover?
Oh, God, that'd be amazing.
The butter love.
Think of the butter they could make.
Yeah.
Like, they could make their own. Larry can help them.
Yes.
I'm sure he's got a butter churn. In fact, I'm genuinely sure he'll make one. So, Anjali. Now, Anjali, Bruno's first criticism of Anjali's was that he wanted a different coloured green in her icing because this one was too soapy in colour. It's not easy being green.
Green is an interesting colour to use in foods because it either goes very well or very wrong. And it's just the wrong shade of green. What kind of green would you be looking more for? A forest green, a mossy green,
Kermit green,
green, a leftist green,
as somebody from
a latte sipping leftist communist green.
As somebody from the Great Canadian Baking Show might have hinted at this week, a pot coloured green,
a hempish green.
Completely unrelated, but if you haven't listened to our interview with Kyla, go and check it out. Fantastic interview. She's amazing. The dough, however, for Anjali, really good. Oyax, they said the detail was amazing, but the bread needed salt. Not butter this time.
Not butter,
just
salt.
Rafikat, now, this is where they opened it up, they cut it open, and they were like, that cream is very soft.
Yeah, well, they were talking about how she needed cooling thoughts. Her and Anne were there trying to send cooling thoughts. I think you're breathing too hot over it, though. Like 2 hot ladies just heating up the bread there.
The bread couldn't cope with it.
Yeah.
It was too warm while assembling. They said it was a bit undercooked, but it had a really good flavour to it. Now, Mahathi, as they said, it doesn't look good. They didn't even pretend. They were like, it doesn't look very good.
No.
But
had some vaginal qualities to it.
Of course it did. But
they said a yoni shape.
All I could think of, because just before that we'd watched RuPaul's Drag Race.
We had.
And all I could think about was some of the breast forms that we were seeing. And like maybe 2 of those.
Yeah.
And apparently, though, with Mahathi's, they said the flavour was balanced really well. So the flavour was good even if it didn't look great. Larry, they just said it was a really solid bake. The flavours were excellent.
It looks gorgeous. You could have put that on a Donna Hay cover or like a magazine cover.
Yes, exactly. And as they said, like the lavender in particular, much like Rose last week, lavender is really hard to balance in Bake Off, and we see too often lavender is way overdone.
What's worse than your green looking soapy, but your cake tasting soapy?
Yeah, you don't want it tasting soapy. But they said he balanced that lavender flavour perfectly.
It's why my imperial leather leather bakes never go well.
No,
my Palmolive bakes. Get that out of here.
No, definitely not. And all the Ponds Institute ones, don't even start me on the Ponds Institute.
Oil of Olay.
Now they said
oil of blah.
Now they said that Sheldon shouldn't have cut his because as they pointed out, they were worried about getting it all over them. Kyla with a bib. By the way,
she's like, I'm worried about getting it all.
She was very
Kyla, with very secure.
Kyla in her very classy sort of jumpsuit,
preventing the titty litter.
Yeah, and preventing titty litter with a basically a very large napkin on her. But they said the flavour of Sheldon's was delicious, which got us into the technical. Now the technical was pretzels. They didn't even bother to hide that. Can I just say though, speaking of gifable moments,
yes,
we had Larry and his ta-da. That needs to be followed by, and CBC, I know you listen.
Yeah.
Can we please have the Bruno bounce when they mentioned the bouncy castle?
Oh, and can we actually get them a bouncy castle next time?
Yeah, can we actually get them a bouncy castle?
Bouncy castle cam.
Oh my God, that could be fun. Like, you can watch...
bouncing
Bruno.
Oh, Bruno.
Right, here's what I want though, right? I want a choose your own adventure, like Red Button or whatever you want to call it, where you can watch the bake or Bruno
on a bouncy castle,
picture in picture. So while we're watching someone's cake,
Kyla cam.
Oh, that could be great. But while we're watching somebody's technical fall apart, in the corner, there's just Bruno going yippee to cheer you up again.
Until like the producer comes and goes, you have to take your shoes off, Bruno. Oh, sorry, miss.
Don't tell me what to do. I used to run the Four Seasons. I have credibility, damn it.
God, do you think he just used that excuse wherever he goes?
I would. This is why Bruno is a better person than I ever will be.
I know.
Everything that happens, I'd get pulled over by the police to, can we have a look at your license? You just run the Four Seasons, guys. It's all good. All good. I've got you. I would just use that as every excuse ever.
Don't you know who I am?
Don't you know who I am?
I run the Four Seasons.
Don't you know who I am? I once made a Jell-O display. So if you don't know what we're talking about, go back into the archives and now listen to our interview with Bruno, which was one of our favourite conversations ever. They needed to make 12 pretzels.
Yes.
With a cheese spread. Now, the cheese spread thing is interesting.
Well, I guess to make an accompaniment to it and give them something to do while you're waiting for the pretzel. And what I liked about the judging, though, it was all focused on the bake, not the cheese.
See, this is the other interesting thing, too, because where I would have gone was I would have made something like their own flavoured butter. Which, again, for Bruno, he missed a trick. I mean, it's a Kyla bake, which is probably why he didn't pick that up.
They should have just made them churn their own butter while they were...
Larry's got experience, no doubt. Larry's like, got the cows out the back, ready to go.
Yes.
Where are we? We're good.
Got Daisy and trusty Ethel. What, another cow? No, that's my favourite butter churner.
He names them all, yeah. Now, it was interesting because when they were talking about what they needed to do in this challenge, it's one of those rare ones where they have to hold back on the amount of times they knead the bread.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get the strands going. But you can't overwork it because the bake gets too tight and you need it to be fluffy. 8 folds on the dough.
Wow.
Very strong with the 8 folds on the dough. It was really funny when Maggie got to 7, she's like, I don't know if I can do the 8th fold. And she's trying to...
It's like when you're a kid and you find, and someone goes, you can't fold paper more than 8 times. And then you try and you're like, oh, no, I can't. I tried all kinds of paper. I got like the Yellow Pages paper because it was thinner. Nope, can't do it.
I mean, Mythbusters managed it, but they did use a piece of paper about the size of an aircraft hangar. And it was under the best possible circumstances.
Yeah.
Now... we're sort of stalling because the revelation in tonight's episode was haunting. I've never heard anyone on television make such a amazing statement.
I think it was brave for her to come out on, international TV.
We are, of course, referring to Rafikat and her announcement that, first of all,
Yep.
I don't like cheese. And I thought Anne was going to fall over.
Okay.
And then she said, I've never had cheese.
Yeah, that was...
And
I mean, there's some things in life that you go, no, I'm not eating that. I know that even though they're marinated, pigs' anuses would taste atrocious. I am not doing that. Like, that's a no. Cheese, on the other hand, like, it's cheese. She's been in Canada for 3 years. Like, raclette. And you've got bloody, the chips with the poutine, like a national dish.
Like, again, you've got all
I'm
of that.
sure you can't get through customs unless you've eaten some poutine.
I'm sure that's part of the citizenship
It's like, I'm not
test.
stamping your passport until you've eaten some poutine.
It's the citizenship test.
Get these cheese curds down you.
It's have you had poutine? Can you sing any of the hockey song by Stompin' Tom Connors? If you can do those two things... you're in. And apologise at the end.
And name your favourite Tim's
donut. What's your favourite Tim Hortons donut? And what Robin Sparkle's song is the best?
Which Tim Hortons were you in?
Yeah, which Tim Hortons were you in and what were you eating at the time when she announced she was Robin Daggers? Anyway, all part of the test. We're sure of this. Now, Mahathi had a much lower level one where she was trying to pronounce Worcestershire sauce.
Oh, good job, Mahathi.
Followed by saying, I've never tasted it.
Okay, Mahathi, this is what you want to do, right? You want to go down to your local seafood dealer, get yourself a dozen oysters. Now, you want something akin to a Sydney rock oyster. Just ask your fishmonger what would be the equivalent to the Canadian. I presume it's like a Toronto Bay oyster. I don't know. It could be a Regina oyster. I'm not sure. You find out. And then you take the oysters out of the shell and you put a spoonful of Worcestershire sauce. No, hold on. You heat up the shells first. Then after the shells are heated up, put a spoonful of Worcestershire sauce in each shell. And then you pop your oysters back into it. And then you put chopped up bits of bacon on top. and then you put a little bit more Worcestershire sauce in it, and then you pop them under a grill into that bacon goes as crispy as it can, probably about 10-15 minutes. You don't want to overdo it. Then you pull them out and you got yourself some oysters Kilpatrick. I tell you what, this is the best way you're going to eat Worcestershire sauce in your life.
Kristie is, for all of the queen of accenting and the queen of this and the queen of that, this is really her wheelhouse.
This is my passion.
Her passion project remains oysters.
Yes. Look,
And in particular, Kilpatrick.
it's the only time I'm going to mention this idiot on the show. My ex, the only redeeming feature about him is he did make good oysters Kilpatrick, but luckily I learnt how to do it and then he buggered off. So it's all good.
And then my family introduced you to the Oyster Shack at
Yes.
our favourite holiday destination with just trays of the damn things.
Yeah, so your dad and I just wander down to the shack, oyster ourselves up, and the rest of the family just watch us because they don't eat oysters.
No. Now, they then come back to Tanner, who again, it was a very Tanner week. Tanner was there with the dough, stretching it out and working it around, and Jan looks at him and goes, "That's a very fun wiggle." And Tanner just started slapping it on this going, "Woo!" Like,
Damn, fun times in his house.
fun times in
he's
the Tanner household.
Yes.
Now, I like that Alan is learning fast, though. Right?
So now I'm just like, DJ Tanner. But that's just a Lonely Island
That's a
reference.
Lonely Island reference. Well done.
Yes.
Dom got a lesson from Alan in Bake Off because Dom was like, "Oh, they're slightly mishaped," and Alan looked at it. No, they add character.
Yes.
And Alan is mastering this vernacular very quickly.
I feel like he's done his research. I mean,
He's working hard.
he and Anne came in this is their second week.
It doesn't feel like they're new.
No,
it
no.
feels like they've been there forever.
Coming out pun after pun after pun, and not the normal puns, like celebrity-based puns.
the
that's
level
brilliant.
of working is incredible. And then Dom did a bit of counting. And it kind of turned to shit at that point.
Oh, Dom.
Because Dom realised that she was a pretzel down.
Yeah, look, Dom, you and my older sister are never going to live your lives down for counting incorrectly. My older sister at a trivia game night, the question was, how many Tim Tams are there in a packet of Tim Tams? And if you don't know what Tim Tams are, you got to get yourself some, right? So we had Tim Tams on our table because you bring your own nibblies to eat. So she opens up the thing
Packet.
and she's the packet and she's counting now. She's got an HR payroll background, right? So she's the numbers woman in our family. And she's there going, it's 12. I'm like, no, it's an uneven number. It's either 11 or 13 because you cannot divide it amongst everyone equally. And she's like, no, it's 12. Put 12 down. Well, as you know, it's 11.
Yep.
So
They deliberately make sure you cannot divide a packet evenly. That means you have to buy a second packet.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
you do anyway, to be honest.
you do anyway, or you just buy the double packet.
Yeah. Now, then they got into the instructions again, and they'll bake until pretzel brown. To which Rafficat very quickly goes, "I claim that as my name." And
I like to think of it. That's her, her jazz persona.
I like that.
Please welcome to the stage, Pretzel Brown. Or her drag persona, Sheldon.
give her a
Gets
drag persona. Yes, do this. I was
And
thinking
what's Pretzel Brown's personality like? Salty.
she's very salty.
Until you butter her up.
But Pretzel Brown, you know what Pretzel
do
Brown.
not bring her the cheese.
Don't bring her the cheese. She's never had cheese. But you know what Pretzel Brown's really good at?
What?
Pole dancing around a clown. So
Jeez.
I'm never leaving that alone.
No, you're not.
It's one of my favourite things ever now. The judging. So Maggie's, they said, it looked really good. There was an attempt at the skin. We didn't even mention the skin.
I
So
know,
they
it
had
was-
to put it in the solution.
Lye.
Yes,
It's
and-
in lye. And they're going, I'm like, there's cooking grade lye?
I know.
This is a revelation.
And so it had to sit in there for 10 seconds. No more, no less. It was great fun listening to people stress count. 1, 2, 3. That's too fast. 4, 5. Now it's just
1,000, 2,000. It
was great.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
So Maggie's, they said, looked really good. It was a really clear attempt at a skin, and the flavour was quite good. Oyoks, they said, would look more like bun than pretzel.
Better than a bun than a bunt.
You want a bunt, yeah.
Don't want a
That was last week.
Bunt-based
That was
pretzel.
last week.
Yeah.
Mahathi, they said it was a good shape, it was consistent, and the cheese had good tang. Anjali, they said, unfortunately, the dough was a bit tight. It had been overworked. Larry's, Larry was the kid today at school who everything that he does gets held up as the example. They literally held the pretzel up and went, "This is what a pretzel looks like."
Yeah. And when you're that kid, it's both glorious
And horrific.
because you're just getting more and more ostracised from your classmates. Yes, Polly, my cat Polly is coming to join the podcast. I just presume she wants more food. Or to tell us about the time when she was an exemplary kitten.
Yeah, when did you have pretzels, Polly, that were held up? No, she stopped now.
No.
Anyway, they said it all bounced back really well. They said before they even bit into it, they could tell it was perfect. And sure enough, it looked amazing. They tasted amazing. The judges were, amazed by them. Dom was short by one, and they said also the shape wasn't consistent, and it wasn't. It was a weird... She said they're vaguely pretzels.
Look, her pretzels are like the pretzels that I'd make, They're just ununiform.
Yeah.
They're their own being. Just a little pretzel person.
Sheldon's, they said, had a really nice feel to them. They said the salt level was really good. Rafficat, first of all, had different shapes. They said that then she needed to hold back and not knead so much. And then they said this one has great cheese. And Rafficat nearly fell off her chair. She's like, I don't know. What does it taste like? I don't know. The other thing they commented on, because it wasn't in any of the instructions, but all they kept on commenting on with the cheese was a lot of garlic.
I really hope, though, that after the filming stopped and they all went back to the hotel that night and Larry just pulls out his brie, Rafficat's like, I just need to, honour my friend and try this cheese.
I feel like it's the best way to be introduced to cheese at this point in time. And Tanner, they said that his was really soft to the touch and needed more kneading. It needed to be kneaded.
Yes.
So 9th was Rafficat, 8th was Dom, 7th was Oyox, 6th was Tanner, 5th was Anjali, 4th was Maggie, 3rd was Sheldon, Mahathi was 2nd, Larry was 1st, and Larry's on fire. Now, the showstopper is a 2-tiered bread centrepiece. Now, they've done centrepieces in many versions of Bake Off before. I was really intrigued by this one. It was a 2-tiered bread centrepiece. I was waiting for them to dictate a shape, and they didn't. Previously, when they've done it, it's make an animal centrepiece. That nearly ended up on the game card this week, was an animal centrepiece.
I'm glad it didn't, though, and I'm glad it was how can I put it? It was specific enough without being, confining. And I think that allowed a bit more for the creativity to, not only with the shape, but also for the filling, because you could then have your softer fillings if you're going to put it on the outside.
And really interesting for me watching the episode felt fast, but...
So much happened.
The challenges were 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, and 4 hours.
No, the pretzels are only 2 hours.
Were they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, they were 2.5.
Okay.
2.5, 2.5, and 4. They were long challenges, but the episode itself felt fast. Not in a bad way, by the way. It moved.
And that's just because we've got a lot of
people to get through.
And there's need a lot of pace.
And that's what we said last week in terms of the early episodes of the pod and the early episodes of the show. It's going to be really quick and rapid because you're getting used to everybody and there's a lot of people they've got to cover. As we get to about week 4, everything slows a little bit.
And look, once they bring in the whole, Bruno Cam and Kyla Cam.
Well, look, they need time for Bruno. The Bruno Cam and the Kyla Cam need plenty of time.
They just need, a pour room. Just with mirror glazes, just in perpetual motion.
Just one where when Anne and Ellen are offset and Anne's just there watching a mirror glaze on loop.
Yeah.
Instead of her therapy sessions, obviously.
Absolutely. She's like, look, I don't need my therapist anymore. Just a good mirror glaze.
Mirror glaze will do me. The eliminated bakers just sit out the back pouring mirror glazes.
Yes.
All they do. Now, I'm here, by the way, for Tanner's pavilion run. The Tanner Pavilion run.
Yes.
So they're ready, set, bake. And he just starts running. And it's a joy to behold. It was very Dwight Schrute.
Yes, I noticed that. Because I'm like, he reminds me of someone in this run. Dwight Schrute. And so I'm like, he's possibly also the safety guy on set.
Tanner could be the safety guy.
Yeah,
I'd believe that.
He's not fire guy.
Who's starting the fire?
Birdie.
Actually, Birdie, you're right. Birdie started the fire. Love you, Birdie. So 2 different types of bread and fillings. Now, Rafficat went with a chocolate and coconut brown bread, which looked really good. And then there was a spelt, which was mixed in with a meat.
Yeah, that was the Nigerian curry.
The Nigerian curry.
She's like, it's a family favourite. And Kyla's like, well, it could become this family's favourite too.
And I loved later on when they got to the judging when Kyla took a mouthful of it and goes, it's got a kick. And Bruno's like, it's not too hot, just a nice little kick. Now, Tanner. Tanner was the first of many to make one of our favourite breads. Challah.
Yes. He ain't no hollaback girl. Oh, wait, he is.
He is.
He is
So
the
challah.
hollaback girl.
So we got a challah with activated charcoal, and then inside we had chorizo.
Well, that's yours.
That's me done.
That's you done.
And there was manchego in there too, in the other one, which was really cool.
And it was an ode to his delightful Spanish sister-in-law, which I thought was lovely.
Yeah, and look, to be honest,
And he had the saffron in the petals.
to be honest with you, anything that adds chorizo adds life. So I'm here for it. Now Dom went with a babka.
Wasn't that the third not
Buddhist saying? Yeah.
saying?
It was,
Like,
do no harm,
yeah.
sugar,
Yes.
fixes everything, hides everything. Chorizo has life. Yes. Dom with her babka, which was chocolate and pistachio, and then the other bread that she had was whiskey and bacon stuffed. Now, I really actually liked this moment with Dom because we've got a lot of like strong Dom personality time.
Yeah.
But Dom talked openly about the fact that she's grew up with a bit of a fear of food.
Which is a thing. A close friend of mine, she's currently supporting her child through this, and it's just like you couldn't imagine anything that would be more confronting because it's something that you have to do every day. So the fact that she was saved by Bubka, like that is just brilliant.
If there's anything that was, again, it feels like one of those stories from one of those magazines.
Like the Take 5. Or
Whatever the Canadian equivalency is.
Life.
One of those trashy magazines of like, Bubka saved my food life. But in this case, it was a really good story. And I like you could see that everyone was a bit emotional about it going, this is what you need. This is what food can do. And again, Kyla talking about what food can do, which again, we had a lovely conversation with her earlier this week where she spent a long time talking.
And making me cupcakes.
About what food, and yes, birthday cupcakes.
Yeah.
So on the podcast, just briefly before we continue going into this, as we started up, just a bit of behind the scenes, as we started up our podcast this week with Kyla, she sort of had her back to us, and we're like, oh, she's doesn't know we're here yet, and she turned around and she had cupcakes with lit birthday candles.
I know.
For Kristiness.
It was very sweet, and I just want to thank everyone for the well wishes.
There was lots of Kristiness wishes, so thank you everyone for the Kristiness wishes. So Maggie again made a chocolate babka and a challah for the top. So we had a lovely mix again. Then Sheldon became your favourite person on the planet.
Oh my God, Sheldon.
Kristie, just go. This is you. This is all you.
Char siu buns, like just barbecue pork buns are the best. And like the love of them started at a very young age because I grew up near Chinatown in Sydney. And it just continues to this day. And I think like if there's a few consistencies in my life, it's barbecue pork buns being one. So seeing them on Bake Off was like two of my favourite things just coming together.
Yep. And of course, then he did a brioche with pork floss. I was here for the pork floss.
And I do like Alan's flossing. Did you know I can floss?
Yes, I do know you can floss.
Yes, I won't do it for the podcast.
I can't. It's not visual media.
It's not a visual medium. And I don't care to YouTube it because that will go viral.
Yeah, it will.
And I'm not here to be a viral sensation. I'm here to be a podcast sensation.
You are, and you are a podcast sensation.
Yeah.
Now, Alan can floss. You can floss.
Yeah.
I can't. You've seen me try. It's hideous.
You'll just take the pork floss.
I'll just take the pork floss. I'm happy
I'm
with
here
that.
for fairy floss, which you guys call cotton candy.
I'm more here for pork floss, to be honest with you.
I don't like these fancy fairy floss flavours going around, though. Like green apple and like...
Oh, no, green apple's terrible.
Just give me the normal one. Either blue or pink.
Give me the one that tastes like pink and I'm fine.
Exactly.
Anyway, so Oyox made challah again. And I really liked Oyox because challah with duck breast.
Yes, and you're a bandit for duck.
I'm a bandit for a good duck breast. I mean, again, if you go back through our Instagram, there's remnants of the duck sausage rolls that I made once, which I need to do those again at some point.
And to be able to get the duck breast cooked perfectly and then baked inside
that's a challenge.
Bread without it
and it's a
drying
challah,
out,
yeah, that's really hard.
Like that was beautifully done. That takes a lot of skill.
And then the bottom was a pull apart with apple and brie.
And all three of those altogether, those flavours, work really well. I think he did a good
And that
job.
brie would have been sensational. Had it not been.
But did you make it yourself?
Did you make your own brie? And I love when they went brioche with homemade brie and sun-dried tomato topper. And they said to Larry, homemade brie, what do you mean by that? And he goes, it means I made the brie. And they were just like, oh, you actually made the brie? And he's like, yeah, no, I actually made the brie.
I get quite inspired, and like I see, because there's like a local sustainable living centre place that does cool, like, you know, organic growing and all these different courses, including cheese making. I'm like, oh, I'd really like to do that, but they do it like really early on a Saturday morning, and I'm like,
You like your sleep.
I'll just go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
I'll just go to an artisanal market and buy myself some homemade brie by someone else.
Now,
Named Larry.
Angeli went with a pain d'épée and a cinnamon bun. I love a good cinnamon bun.
You do love a good. You are
now,
a bandit for it.
and it was the shape of
a
a Basque thistle.
Yeah, no, I thought this was really intriguing, and I'm going to have to look up some more Basque folklore, because we have Basque ancestry in my Mad McGlashan side. Yeah, it's really cool. There's like a family group with the last name, because my other grandmother, not the Scot, the McGlashan, her family are all from Perthshire in Scotland, but then people are doing like more, like there's like 2 or 3 of them doing like mad research, and they're all retirees, so they've got time on their hands, they've got disposable income, so they can go around buying birth certificates. Apparently we have a Basque link, and then I learnt Basque isn't Spanish, and I'm like, holy moly, I need to get better at geography and shit and just be more culturally sensitive. So I was really kind of like, oh, this is cool, and I need to learn more about the folklore, just because.
Definitely do.
Just wandering away from the topic. Let's get back into the pavilion.
We'll get back to Mahaffey.
Yes.
Who made a fig and walnut sea slug. Now, Bruno did not quite know what to make of this. And even after they got to the judging, they still did not quite know what to make of this. She made povertizza as well, which was, again, they're like, that's cool, but I love the fact that the judging on this was basically when they said a bit obscure.
Yeah, but when you're going through your Facebook post and someone puts up like, oh, have you seen this cool underseas creature, and it's like a fancy sea slug, you might think, hey, that would make a very grandiose bake, because the fancy ones are really fucking fancy. Like, they've got frills, they look like they're all decked out to go to a like a prairie dance. They've got the frills and the bows and the spots and the polka dots, and they're just
definitely always
ready
think
for a hoedown.
Prairie dance. Anyway, I loved at this point in time they showed
like our proms, like the American proms do enchantment under the sea. You know what the sea slugs do? Enchantment on the prairie.
On the prairie. Sea slugs, love nothing more than a good prairie reference. They even love, who their favourite Sesame Street character is?
Prairie Dawn.
Welcome to our little play. Anyway, Anne was then, they can cut to Anne, who got one of my favourite moments for her so far of this series, when she went over and started tasting some of Sheldon's filling for his thing. Yeah. And just looks at him and goes, oh my God, will you marry me? And then we got to watch all the folding and the filling. Now, I love in bread wheat because you get plaiting and you get folding. It's just always fun to watch.
Like, there is nothing better than watching like dough, like bread dough being formed and just folded and tucked and twisted. Like watching Tanner just like do his weaving, I was like, I am there for that.
Bread weaving is incredible. I can't do it. That's incredible.
Also, Tanner, I want to know, I'm going back to your Saint Trapeze. I'm calling it the trapeze. I want to know if you base that design on top of it on the Assassin's Creed Valhalla mystery for the standing stones, because I'm sure I've seen that pattern on one.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. Now, you said as well there's nothing better than watching bread folding. I can think of one thing. Somebody pole dancing around a clown. So,
what about this? Someone pole dancing around the clown while weaving bread.
While the clown is weaving bread.
Yes, and someone is pouring a mirror glaze over them.
Weaving bread. Weaving glaze down the side of my face. Any Clue fans out there right now are losing their shit.
Yep, you are.
So, the judging. Rafficat, they said the detail was absolutely outstanding on the bread and the design. The top bake in particular was absolutely beautiful, and they said the curry was well distributed with a good kick.
Yeah.
They said that Dom's bake was finally her in a bake.
Yes, it was very shiny.
But they said, unfortunately, the bread was a teensy bit dry.
And not enough glitter.
And again, as Bruno also added, not enough butter.
Oh, butter.
I
was just presuming it was Dom, so it was glitter.
I like butter. So then Ajax, as they said, it was a bit monochromatic, and they said, but that's because so far you've given us stunning. This is a bit monochromatic, but the bake was really good.
Yeah.
Now, they said, so they said there was a bit of skewer, mahafi. The povatitsa, when they cut it open, there were massive gaps in her povatitsa.
Yeah.
Like there was no filling in there at all. It was a lot of air pockets.
Yeah.
The flavours, however, were really good. And that sort of, I think, is what saved it at the end of the day.
Yes.
Anjali. Now, first of all, they said it wasn't grand enough. Now, true, but you did only say it had to be two-tiered.
Yes, not
You didn't
grand.
say it had to be grand. You said two-tiered. That was 2 tiers.
And you know what? We really needed a RuPaul moment. We needed a double save tonight.
Double save tonight. Look, if they can do it in the last episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, they can do it here.
Just-
Now, they said that the sticky buns with turmeric are good, and as Bruno called them, the future.
we were the future.
But they did say that the bread was a little bit dry. Tanner, the colours, and again with the charcoal bread, and then
And
when
the
you cut it
saffron
open,
petals, yeah.
when you cut it open and you got the
there's the
chorizo
chorizo.
pop and the manchego, it looked incredible.
Yeah, every single part
And
of
they
it.
said the flavour was wonderful too.
And it was Maggie's as well, who also had like that Mad Hatterish. Sorry, I probably
It
jumped
was.
past-
No, we were up to
Yeah, good,
Maggie with the
good.
Mad Hatter.
Because like this is the only thing I don't like about these early episodes is that we're going so quickly and there's beautiful little moments, including Maggie's and then you cut it open, there's all the swirls going through it. I thought it was beautiful.
Oh, it was incredible. It was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And again, you're right. We don't get to spend enough time early on just because of the nature of the show.
Yeah.
We don't get to spend enough time on some of the amazing early bakes. And they kind of fall by the wayside a little bit, and you have to go back and rewatch it to see them.
Look, I'm just going to put it out there. Big Baker. It's like Big Brother, but it's baking 24/7. Like you just put the bakers in a house.
Just give them the extra camera like Bruno with the bouncy castle.
Yeah, just like maybe a toned down Big Baker. Like,
Definitely.
This
We don't
is
want after
Big
dark.
Baker.
We don't want after dark.
We do not want hot dogs up late.
No one gets that joke. Not even anyone in Australia. Only we are the only two people who get that joke. Anyway, Larry. Now, first of all, he made the fucking breadboard it was on, as we mentioned.
He made the brie that was
He
in
made
it.
the brie that was in it. He made the breadboard that was on it.
grew
He probably forged the steel that went into the knife that cut it.
He probably grew the wheat that went into the flour.
He's currently churning out the oxygen that everyone was breathing in the pavilion. He was also creating the Earth's gravitational pull that kept everyone in the pavilion. The bread was gorgeous and the brioche was absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Just look, it was just one of those weeks where, like, Tanner had a great week.
He was blessed by Demeter. I'm just saying, that we talk about the baking gods, and as, Jasmine pointed out very clearly last year,
They're
Demeter,
real, yeah.
They're real.
Demeter, exactly. But as you said, Tanner had an amazing week.
Yeah.
But this week, Larry did not make a single mistake.
No, he was like Simone Biles. Is that the gymnast who got 10s out of 10s across
Yes.
the board? And then I think she got a text from Janet Jackson recently too.
Is that why you know about it? Because of Janet Jackson's text?
No. I watched her performances. I think last year, the year before, probably the year before. Last year was a bit for everything.
As somebody tweeted out today, I can't remember who it was, but someone on Twitter tweeted out that next month it will be March. Still, we've never left March.
I'm gonna so
and then-
just enjoy all your Facebook memories for the next couple of weeks.
Because afterwards, what memories? Then Sheldon was the last one. Now, unfortunately for him, the second tier crushed the bottom tier. And the bread was raw in that top tier. But the bottom tier, they said, was really well baked.
Do you think it's because it's the year of the ox, and the ox got a bit peeved that he was featuring pork? Like maybe he should have had ox floss.
Do you really think the ox wanted the sacrifice?
Yeah, because it's the year of the fox. Fox.
The fox.
The ox. The foxy ox.
What does the ox say? Nothing, it's dead. Anyway, Larry wins Star Baker in one of the most obvious decisions I think we've ever seen. And then, again, I've been trying to avoid, but
I want to remember her as she was.
she is. But Anjali, I just, again, the best of times, the worst of times.
It is a tale of two bakers.
Because, celebrating Larry, but at the same time we lose Anjali, and that I wasn't ready for that.
No.
And, this one is both joyous and painful all at once. It's really hard to do that, by the way. It's, can't we have, a middle ground? Can't we have, as Homer Simpson would call it, the creamy middles?
It really does feel like the baking gods have gone, we have granted your wish. We have put people that have followed you onto the show.
And now we're going to take them away.
And now we're going to take them away. We're just going to...
But we'll also give one of them a win.
Like, you can't have the good without the
There must be a
sacrifice.
toll, apparently.
There's a sacrifice, yeah.
And Anjali, unfortunately, is that sacrifice.
Oh.
And we'll have a moment of silence for Anjali. Yep. Anyway, we're done. So hopefully we'll get to chat with her anyway. I have a bit of a hunch that might happen. And obviously, hopefully, still possibly Bertie as well. So that's kind of this episode for this week. Next week's Cookie Week.
It is.
Interesting. I get to do my Cookie Monster impression all week. Oh, God. I've got to get my voice ready. It kills me. You know, I do a Cookie Monster impression. You'll get it next week. I'm not doing it now.
I was doing one. I think it was pretty good.
Yours was good. I'm happy with
it. It does tickle the back of your throat, though.
Imagine doing
Which means that you're coughing and people think you got COVID. C is for COVID. Like,
it's not good enough for me. No. So again, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for listening last week as well. And if you haven't listened to our chat that we had with Kyla,
please do.
Please go and listen to it.
She's amazing.
It was amazing. She is amazing. It was a wonderful chat. We literally could have kept talking for hours. Mm-hmm. And again, much like we said with Bruno last year, I don't think this is going to be the last time we have a conversation.
No, and also go back if you haven't already and listen to Alan and Anne's chat with us like that.
Oh, they are wonderful and warm. And again, I highly recommend just all the stuff from this season so far. Look, I'm not going to lie. I kind of think it's been some of the best stuff we've actually podcasted, and I'm really happy with it. And I don't often say that very much. In fact, most of the time after the podcast, I spend the next 2 days doubting myself and telling myself it's shit. So
just give him some affirmations.
Oh, it's some affirmation, damn it. No, it's all good. Anyway, that's all we're going to do this week. Yeah. Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Ta-da!